Hi, welcome back to 12 Step Up. My name is Richie. Before I forget, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Um, Today we have a special guest, our very own Christine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So, first of all, how much sobriety time do you have?
13 years.
13 years. That's awesome. Um, how old were you when you started drinking or using?
10.
10 years old.
Yeah.
You want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, I was in a foster home and I met this kid. And so we snuck out of his house, had some beer and some cigarettes that we stole from his house. And that was it. I had that first drink and smoked that cigarette and I coughed my guts up, but kept smoking.
That's right.
And that was just the beginning.
Did you continue drinking after that? Like a
Not
lot?
until I was 12. And then I'd steal alcohol from my grandparents and
But like was it like most of us that start drinking at a early age? Was it like for me? It was like first time I took a drink, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want this! I want this! I want more!"
yeah,
Was it like that? Okay,
yeah.
so it's kind of I guess that's kind of a telltale or something we share. A lot of us alcoholics that started off at an early age or even later,
Mhm.
but that's something that we all kind of share. Like we taste it, we want it,
Mhm.
and we got to have more.
Mhm.
So how old were you when you actually like consistently started drinking and using?
I was 16.
16. Okay,
Yeah.
that's. Did you get in trouble? Was there
Um
trouble with your
always in
drinking?
trouble. I took alcohol to school and drank it, got busted
Okay,
and suspended. I stole alcohol from my parents and fill it up with water so they wouldn't know I was drinking it.
that's right. Okay,
So,
so you do that, and early on, did you have like any serious repercussions from drinking?
no.
No,
Well,
it was just like minor trouble.
I ended up getting my brother drunk and he almost died.
Oh
And
shit.
so my mom came and screamed at me and told,
Okay,
so that's kind of
that's
serious.
kind of serious. Okay, so when did your drinking career take off?
So in high school, junior high and high school is when I was drinking. We'd go to parties. Um, I didn't really mess with drugs. I did weed. We had a band, people in a band up the street from us. And so they gave me a ton of weed and smoke it at home, thinking my parents didn't know.
That's cool. That's cool.
Right?
Um, did they ever say anything?
No,
They never said anything.
no.
That's fun. My parents never said anything either. They knew what it was
Right.
because I kind of jacked it from a drawer sometimes. Okay, so as life is going, um, like, so you graduate from high school,
Didn't graduate.
didn't graduate, okay. Um, so are you driving around everywhere?
No car.
No car. So let's talk about that. So you didn't graduate from high school.
Mm-mm.
Why don't you tell me what you do now for a living?
I'm a counselor at a methadone clinic.
But you didn't graduate from high school.
No, but I got my GED when I was 32 years old. So,
32 years old.
yes.
Okay. When, well, how old were you when you got your driver's license?
32.
Okay. So why didn't you have your driver's license?
Because I was a low bottom junkie
Okay.
in Seattle.
Okay.
So,
So you went from drinking to drugs.
hmm
So when you get from drinking to drugs, what was the timeline?
well, I took off from home when I was 17.
Okay.
And I moved in with a friend of mine, and then I took off this guy wanted me to come live with him in Seattle. And so I said, okay. So I went to his house, and he told me to hide under the bed because his mom was there.
Oh shit. Okay.
And so
Okay.
I had to get out of there.
Shit. Okay.
And I met this girl, and she took me in. And so I got sober for a little while. But when my using happened when I was 20 years old. I met a junkie. Um, he wanted to do some math, and he wanted to shoot me up. And so when he shot me up, within seconds, I was pulling more up and shooting myself up.
Had you done that before? Then,
Never,
but
never.
you had arrived.
I arrived. That was the moment that changed my life forever.
Okay. How long did that career last?
Um, so I'd say 12 years.
12 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got sober?
So 20 years ago is the last time that I used drugs. Um, I decided I wanted to get clean, and my husband at the time was still using, and so but I made a decision to get clean, and then I had almost 5 years and went to Vegas and sat across from my husband, saying, "I think I can drink. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm an addict." And he said, "Go ahead, but you may lose your family." But what I heard was, "Go ahead." So I did.
Hmm.
And I destroyed my life in 7 months with alcohol, just alcohol.
Wow. So how long? So it's that it took you 7 months. How did you? When did you realize enough was enough, or when did you believe that enough was enough?
I never did.
Never did. Okay.
I only went to meetings because my boss suggested that I go back to meetings, and I told him that I'll go, but I'll prove to him that I'm not an alcoholic so I can start drinking again.
Ah,
Yeah. So it was my job that was on the line.
so when did you? So you graduated at 32. Were you sober at the time?
Um, I'm not sure because there was some drinking around that time, I think.
And that's when you finished your GED as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to a program, um, which involves, sobriety, um, and now you're doing this program. Does that keep you sober?
Yes.
And so you've been sober ever since.
13 years. Yeah.
Now you got your GED, you're sober, you got your driver's license, but now you're a drug counselor. How
Mhm.
did that? How did you come up with that?
It was an accident.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so I worked in the grocery business, and I also played roller derby. And so I went to practice and broke my leg. And so my job wouldn't let me come back until I was healed. Um, and I decided to go to school, and counseling came up, and it just happened by accident. It
It's
w-
fucking badass. So let's talk about the rollerblading though, right? Because you're sober, and I'm assuming you're kind of new sober, right? Or you're already some years into it.
I was a year sober when I got into
Okay,
it.
so fairly new.
Yeah,
Um, how did that work for you?
it worked great. I had some aggression that I needed to get out. They called me rage because I was so angry. Um, and then I learned coping skills to deal with the rest of it because roller derby, there's a lot of drinking. And so we'd have to go to the after parties and make our appearance. And I made sure that I had my own car, if I needed to call someone, or I could just leave. And finally, but a lot of them started recognizing that I was sober. And so they left me alone and just kind of,
That's badass.
yeah.
There's a lot of different careers, hobbies where you have to be around people that drink. Typically, are come on, man, it's just one. Dude, you can
Mm-hmm.
just one. What's it gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so you're doing that. How long did you do that for?
9 years.
Damn. Okay. Why'd you stop?
Too many bones broken.
It's fucking badass. So okay, so I mean that's a good reason to stop. So you're a drug and alcohol counselor, and you get to work with others, and you get to spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
How is that treating you now?
Um, let's just say right now, working at a methadone clinic, it's a little bit harder. Um, trying not to get attached to people.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are still using, and so they are not hit their bottom yet. And so, but then there are times when clients get sober, and so it's a big deal, and I celebrate that with them. And um, I have a picture of me when I was using on methadone, and I was 9 months pregnant, and my bones were sticking out of my face, and it was horrible. And so I have a picture of my treatment, of my first day of treatment, and hanging up on my wall.
Nice.
And
Good reminder.
so that they know that they're not alone, and
Yes.
that I've done it too. I walked off 140 milligrams of methadone.
Damn.
So
So I know we're all over the place with this interview, but you just mentioned something. Um, you were 9 months pregnant.
pregnant.
You have children.
Hmm.
Um, you have been in their lives.
Two of them not.
Two of them not.
Yeah. My daughter was taken away from me. I went to the apartment manager because we had domestic violence happen, and I took my baby and asked for help. And the police came and took my baby from me. I was not able to get sober. My second one was a son, and I walked off methadone and all that stuff, got sober. Um, and then I went back to the same relationship and ended up using. So I gave him to my sponsor, and I walked away to go do heroin with my husband. And I almost had him back, but it was just the best that he was in a good home. I have met both of them. And then I have the two kids that I've raised. So,
That's a big change.
yeah.
Big change because you couldn't be able for two. You couldn't be there for two,
Mhm.
but you were there for the two other ones.
Yeah.
Um, and that's big. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That's that. So to me, when I hear stories like this from women like you, I mean, to me, that's an inspiration, right? Because I don't think a lot of men understand the struggles that women go through. I don't understand them either, but I can um, try to relate.
Mhm.
Um, I know for myself, I had to go through the whole court system. I've been from my second wife, um, and that took a whole year, but I got her back in my life.
Mm.
Um, my my youngest son, he lives with me, and he's lived with me since I was 1 year sober.
That's awesome.
His mom and I had a conversation, and I asked her if you could move with us, and she was open to it.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of unheard of.
Right.
So I'm ever blessed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I get to have my son. So that's me. That's the pain that I had to go through. That's minimal to what a lot of you women have to go through. So I really, really love when I hear stories like this, because there's a lot of women out there that don't know how to get help,
Right.
or afraid to get help. And the fact that you have stood up for yourself and are here, fuck. Um, so um, that's pretty badass. Now, um, I always ask somebody a question, but I just thought of another one. What if you could do this over your whole sobriety journey? How would you change anything, or would you keep it as it has been?
I think I'd keep it the way it is. Yeah. It's been a lot of growing, but it worked out for me.
It was what it was when it
Yeah.
needed to be.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that if you actually if you actually want to get sober, right? Like, do you believe that you can do it without a program, or do you think that people can actually do it on their own?
So I've had to being in the counseling field,
Yeah, that's the reason I asked.
I've had to meet the client where they're at, and some people can do it just with family as a sober support.
Okay,
Um, and that's worked for them. Other people,
but is there longevity to that sobriety, or do you have any data on
they
that?
don't change their behaviors,
Okay,
but
okay,
you know, but sometimes they just get back in with their family and it works out for them, and that makes them happy. So,
yeah. There's a lot of different questions I can ask you because you have been in the field. What has been the biggest excuse not to get sober?
that they just can't stop, or what happens is they just don't hit a bottom yet,
Okay.
and so their bottom keeps on getting lower and lower and lower, but they can still minimize. Maybe they have a car, well, I still have a car, or I have a job, and so they minimize their using,
Yes.
and it keeps them using.
Yeah. So we tend to keep digging a little deeper every single
Hmm.
time. All right. So here's another question that I really ask everybody. What would you say to someone out there that's trying to get sober, that wants to get sober, that needs to get sober, but just doesn't know how to get sober? What words of wisdom would you tell them?
Just keep trying. Try some things different. Maybe go to self-help meetings, go to treatment, maybe get the coping skills so that you can, find coping skills to deal with cravings and urges to use, and reach out to other people. When we isolate, that's when we're in the worst mode. If I'm trying to do it by myself, one thing that I learned, and one of my favorite sayings that I have a tattoo of, is we can do together what I can't do alone.
That's right.
And I think that support helps us do it.
So now, today, how is your support group? Your,
Eh.
okay.
Lately I've been realizing that I need to step up and maybe hit some more meetings. Um, I have a sponsor, but it's been hit and miss. I've gone through a few sponsors. My first sponsor uh, was was the best, and he helped me keep myself alive from week to week. Um, and right now, I have my best friend and I have a sponsor, and I use all my counselors as my sober support too, and they keep me in line. So I try and do what I can. Right now, I'm working on a 4-step. So,
Well, you're doing what you can,
yeah.
right? And at 13 years sober, you have a lot of wisdom because as rough as we come in,
Mm,
yet you're still here,
right.
yet you're still doing the do.
Hmm.
So I really want to thank you for doing this. I know for a fact that this is way out of your comfort zone. I really appreciate it. That's why when we're driving around and I asked Tiffany, which is my wife, which she was episode 1, I asked her, yo, why don't you hit up Christine? She's like, ah, yeah. So and we know, we obviously we're around you enough to know how you are.
Hmm.
So I know this is way out of
Yeah.
your comfort zone, and I really appreciate this because you do have a lot to say. You do have your words can help somebody,
Hmm.
um, and that's all we want, right? Like
Right.
we want somebody to hear this show and be like, oh, I can relate with her.
Right.
And like you guys, like I've said it before, you guys, if you have any questions, email me, uh, put it in the comments. We'll get back to you. We'll find you help however we can.
Hmm.
So again, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us, Christine. Once again, my name is Richie. Thank you for tuning in to 12 Step Up. Uh, I will remind you one more time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, guys.